Evan had never imagined that a simple trip to the supermarket could change his life forever. The morning sunlight filtered through the giant glass dome of the megacity's shopping district, reflecting off hovering vehicles and neon signs. The air smelled faintly of ozone and freshly baked bread, a strange combination that somehow reminded him of home. He adjusted the straps of his shoulder bag and stepped inside the automated supermarket, scanning the aisles for something quick to eat. Life as a junior engineer at NovaCorp, one of the largest interstellar corporations in the galaxy, was exhausting. Long hours, strict deadlines, and endless meetings made Evan feel more like a cog in a machine than a person. Today, all he wanted was a pack of nutrient bars and maybe a cup of artificial coffee. Just something to keep him awake during the next presentation. The supermarket was crowded but calm, like a carefully controlled ecosystem. Robots rolled silently between the shelves, restocking products or scanning prices, while human shoppers moved with a mix of purpose and distraction. Evan passed the fresh produce section, his mind already on the tasks waiting for him at the office. Then he saw her. At first, it didn't register. A woman in a sharp, silver jacket moved through the crowd with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. There was something in her presence, a kind of quiet authority that made people subtly step aside. Evan froze. He recognized her immediately, even though they had never met in person. It was Arden, the CEO of NovaCorp. The very name carried weight. People whispered about Arden in hushed tones at the office. Brilliant, ruthless, and enigmatic, Arden controlled not just NovaCorp's technology but much of the corporate world. Rumors said that Arden could influence stock markets with a single phone call, and that no AI system was clever enough to predict her moves. Evan's heart skipped a beat. Seeing Arden in a public place, especially this far from the office, was so unexpected that it felt unreal. He stared, almost unable to breathe. As she moved closer, the bustling crowd seemed to blur around her, as if reality itself slowed down for a moment. Then, to his shock, she stopped right in front of him. "Evan," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. The sound was sharp, calm, and commanding all at once. "Be my boyfriend, or risk your job." Evan blinked. The words didn't make sense. He looked around, hoping someone else had heard. But people carried on as if nothing had happened. He wanted to ask her what she meant, but Arden didn't give him a chance. She smiled faintly, almost teasingly, then turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving Evan standing there with his mouth open and his heart pounding. He sank into a nearby aisle, gripping his bag as if it could somehow anchor him. His mind raced. Was this some kind of joke? A test? Or had he misunderstood something? The idea that the CEO of the galaxy's most powerful corporation had just whispered an ultimatum to him seemed impossible. Yet the memory of her sharp eyes, the calm precision in her voice, was burned into his mind. Evan tried to steady himself. Maybe he had imagined it. Maybe he was tired. But deep down, he knew it had happened. Arden had singled him out. Why him? He was just a junior engineer, hardly someone important enough to command attention from the CEO. He left the supermarket quickly, barely noticing the food items he had intended to buy. Outside, the city hummed with life. Drones zipped past, and neon lights flickered on the massive screens displaying advertisements for off-world vacations and new NovaCorp products. Evan walked slowly, feeling the weight of what had just happened. Back at his small apartment in the lower levels of the city, Evan paced. He replayed the encounter over and over in his mind. Could it really be a threat? And if it was, why would Arden choose such a bizarre way to communicate it? As he sat at his desk, his holo screen flickered to life with notifications from NovaCorp. Project updates, AI diagnostics, and routine memos scrolled by. Nothing indicated anything unusual. Nothing that could explain the mysterious supermarket encounter. Yet Evan felt a cold, uneasy weight pressing on his chest. The CEO had whispered. And now, he couldn't stop thinking about it. He tried to focus on work, opening a design module for a new AI interface, but his hands hovered over the controls without actually touching anything. His thoughts were consumed by Arden. Who was she really? How could someone so powerful appear in a place as ordinary as a supermarket? The next day, Evan arrived at NovaCorp headquarters earlier than usual. The building was a gleaming tower of glass and steel that reached into the sky. Surrounded by floating platforms and hovercars, he walked through the security checkpoints and entered the main lobby, trying to act normal. But he noticed subtle changes: a glance from a security officer that lingered a second too long, a colleague whispering just out of earshot. It was as if the world was watching him now. By mid-morning, small accidents began to happen. Files he had been working on were mysteriously moved. A scheduled meeting vanished from his calendar, and a colleague questioned him about tasks he didn't remember assigning. Evan realized that someone or something was testing him. Evan's instincts told him that Arden was behind it. He knew that Arden had ways of monitoring employees that were far beyond ordinary surveillance. Perhaps the CEO wanted to see how he would react. Perhaps the supermarket encounter was just the first step in some strange game. That evening, Evan stayed late at the office. The city outside was alive with light, the hum of hovercars and drones blending into a steady rhythm. He examined the project files, searching for clues, trying to understand why Arden had singled him out. Suddenly, a message appeared on his holo screen. It was encrypted, unsigned, but unmistakably from Arden. "Meet me tomorrow at the observation deck. 7 p.m. Come alone." Evan's stomach twisted. The note was simple, but it carried a weight that made his heart pound. This was no joke. Arden was serious, and the next step in this strange, dangerous game was about to begin. He left the office slowly, feeling the city's pulse against his nerves. Every person on the street seemed like a potential observer. Every drone, a silent eye. The thought of meeting Arden in person, knowing the CEO's reputation, filled him with both fear and a strange excitement. Back at his apartment, Evan prepared for the encounter. He reviewed his projects, memorized his recent work, and reminded himself to stay calm. Whatever Arden's plan was, he knew he had to be careful. One wrong move could cost him everything. Yet, deep inside, a small spark of determination grew. He had survived challenges before, and he was not about to let fear control him now. As night fell over the megacity, Evan looked out from his apartment window at the neon-lit towers, the floating vehicles, and the sprawling human settlements. Somewhere out there, Arden watched, planned, and calculated. And somewhere in that vast, powerful mind, Evan realized there was a test that only human intuition, courage, and ingenuity could pass. For the first time in a long while, Evan felt a surge of resolve. Whatever Arden had planned, whatever the mysterious encounter had meant, he would face it. He would not be a pawn. He would show that humans, even small ones like him, had the strength to navigate a world dominated by power, technology, and unpredictability. Tomorrow would decide everything, and Evan was ready. Evan woke early the next day, his mind still spinning from the encrypted message Arden had sent. He had spent a sleepless night going over every detail of the supermarket encounter, every nuance in Arden's whisper, and every possible meaning behind the mysterious note. The message was simple, yet terrifying. "Meet me tomorrow at the observation deck. 7 p.m. Come alone." He ate breakfast mechanically, nutrient bars and synthetic coffee, barely tasting anything. Every movement felt slow, heavy with anticipation. What did Arden want from him? Why single him out? He was just a junior engineer, a tiny part of NovaCorp's massive machinery. Yet, the message was clear. Arden had noticed him, and now he was being drawn into a game he didn't understand. By the time he arrived at NovaCorp headquarters, Evan felt a strange mix of dread and determination. The building towered above the city like a silver monolith, reflecting the morning light. Security drones buzzed through the air, and the lobby hummed with employees moving efficiently between floors. Everything about NovaCorp screamed control and precision, except for the uncertainty that now clung to Evan. He walked toward his workstation, trying to act normal. but subtle changes in the office caught his attention immediately. A colleague he barely knew stopped him in the hallway. "Evan, just a heads up," she said, glancing around nervously. "Some files you've been working on disappeared. Not sure why. And a few meetings were canceled. Strange, right?" Evan nodded, trying to appear calm. "Yeah, strange." Inside, he felt a pulse of anxiety. Someone was watching him. Someone was testing him. And deep down, he knew it wasn't a coincidence. Arden had a way of influencing everything without anyone noticing, and he was now the center of her attention. Throughout the day, more odd things happened. Project files he had carefully organized were scrambled. Emails he hadn't sent appeared in other colleagues' inboxes. Automated systems acted strangely, delaying tasks or misrouting data. Each incident was minor, almost trivial, but together, they formed a pattern Evan could not ignore. He realized that Arden's strange ultimatum at the supermarket was not personal. It was a test of focus, of patience, of ingenuity. Evan could either panic and fail, or think carefully and turn this into an opportunity. Evan decided on the latter. He began carefully tracking every anomaly in the office systems, logging every file that moved unexpectedly, every meeting that vanished, every AI error that occurred. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The disruptions were not random. They were designed to push him out of his comfort zone, to see how he would respond when the rules were unclear. By lunchtime, Evan had formed a plan. Instead of reacting to the chaos, he would use it. If Arden was testing him, he would demonstrate his value as a human engineer, his creativity, intuition, and problem-solving ability. AI systems were precise, predictable, and logical. But humans had something machines could not replicate: ingenuity in the face of uncertainty. After lunch, Evan set to work. He corrected the errors in the AI systems that had been deliberately misconfigured. He traced missing files through the network and restored them, often anticipating where the next problem might appear. By mid-afternoon, his progress had drawn attention. Supervisors paused their work to watch him, quietly impressed at how he calmly solved problems that had left others frustrated. Evan felt a strange sense of satisfaction. For the first time, the chaos created by Arden's invisible hand felt like a challenge he could conquer. Instead of fearing the test, he began to enjoy it, as though he were a player in a game designed specifically for him. Then, the next challenge appeared. A message popped up on his holoscreen, more complex than any he had seen before. It was encrypted, full of technical data and coding sequences that seemed intentionally confusing, but Evan realized that this was not meant to be solved in the usual way. The sequence contained a hidden message, a puzzle embedded in the code. Arden was testing his creativity, his ability to see beyond the obvious. Evan leaned back in his chair, taking a deep breath. He read the sequence carefully, breaking it down into smaller pieces. Slowly, he began to see patterns, connections that a machine might miss. Hours passed as he worked, his mind fully absorbed in the challenge. Finally, he decoded the hidden message. Trust your instincts. A shiver ran down his spine. Arden was watching. She had designed the test to see how he would respond under pressure, with incomplete information and constant disruption. And he had succeeded not by following rules blindly, but by using his human intuition. As the day drew to a close, Evan felt both exhausted and exhilarated. The office emptied, leaving him alone with the hum of the AI systems and the soft glow of holographic displays. He glanced at the clock. 6:30 p.m. Time to meet Arden at the observation deck. The observation deck was located on the top floor of NovaCorp's tower, a panoramic glass platform that extended out over the city. Employees rarely visited it, and only a few executives had regular access. Evan rode the elevator slowly, each floor passing like a countdown. He wondered what awaited him. Was it a confrontation, another test, or something entirely unexpected? When the elevator doors opened, Evan stepped onto the observation deck. The city stretched out below him. a dazzling network of lights, hovercars, and floating billboards. The wind from the open-air platform brushed against his face, carrying the scent of ozone and metal. And there, standing near the edge, was Arden. She turned as he approached, her expression calm, almost unreadable. But there was a faint smile on her lips, a recognition that made Evan's heart race. "Evan," she said. Her voice was steady, confident, yet carried an intensity that made him tense. "You've handled yourself well today." "Thank you," Evan replied, trying to keep his voice steady. I didn't know what to expect." Arden nodded. "I wanted to see how a human would respond when everything around them is uncertain, when the rules keep changing. Most people freeze or follow instructions without thinking. You adapted." Evan felt a mixture of pride and relief. "So, this was a test?" he asked. "In a sense," Arden said, turning to look at the city below. "NovaCorp is run by AI in many ways. Systems manage projects, track resources, predict outcomes, but AI cannot understand intuition, creativity, or moral judgment. Humans like you make the difference between success and failure in uncertain situations. I needed to know if you were one of them." Evan exhaled slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. He realized that the supermarket encounter, the whispered ultimatum, the strange disruptions at work, all of it had been orchestrated to observe him, to measure his response. "I understand," he said. "And, did I pass?" Arden turned fully toward him, her eyes sharp and assessing. "You did. But this is just the beginning. Your work is valuable, Evan. But your ability to think, to adapt, and to trust your instincts is what sets you apart. That is why I singled you out." Evan felt a thrill of accomplishment mixed with nervousness. The CEO of NovaCorp had noticed him. The most powerful person in the galaxy had watched him solve problems, navigate chaos, and prove that human intelligence was still essential. "Thank you," he said again. I won't let you down." Arden smiled faintly. "I don't ask for blind loyalty, Evan. I ask for ingenuity, courage, and integrity. If you can maintain that, you will go far." For a moment, they stood in silence, looking out over the city. The lights shimmered below, and the hum of hovercars echoed faintly against the glass platform. Evan felt a strange mixture of fear, excitement, and determination. He was no longer just a junior engineer. He was a human being, recognized for his unique strengths, in a world increasingly dominated by AI and corporate power. Finally, Arden stepped back. "Go home, rest, and prepare. Tomorrow, the real challenge begins." Evan nodded, his mind racing. He knew that this was not just a job anymore. He was part of something larger. Something that tested not just skill but character, intuition, and creativity. And for the first time, he felt ready to face it. As he left the observation deck and descended back into the tower, Evan realized that Arden's strange game had already taught him a valuable lesson. Humans were not irrelevant in a world run by machines and corporations. Our value lay in our ability to think differently, to adapt, and to act with insight when the rules were unclear. And Evan was ready to prove that humanity still mattered more than anyone, even a CEO with immense power, could imagine. Evan barely slept that night. His mind raced with thoughts of the observation deck, Arden's words, and the strange game he had been pulled into. NovaCorp's tower was no longer just a workplace. It was a place of tests, challenges, and hidden expectations. Tomorrow, Arden had said, the real challenge would begin. Evan did not know what to expect, but he knew he had to be ready. The next morning, he arrived at the office earlier than usual. The city outside was already alive, with hovercars gliding past skyscrapers, drones buzzing overhead, and neon advertisements flickering across massive screens. But inside the tower, everything felt different. The usual hum of employees and AI systems carried an edge of tension, as if the building itself knew that Evan's life was about to change. A message appeared on his holo screen. Report to the secure launch bay. 8 a.m. Bring only your essential tools. Evan's stomach twisted. A secure launch bay? Essential tools? He realized this was no ordinary assignment. Arden had chosen him for something secret. Something important. He gathered his portable engineering kit, a few personal items, and a tablet loaded with Novacorp's schematics, and headed to the designated location. The secure launch bay was hidden beneath the main floors of the tower. As Evan entered, he was greeted by a low hum of engines and the faint glow of warning lights. A sleek spacecraft waited for him. Its hull polished and streamlined, clearly designed for speed and long-distance travel. Several Novacorp officers stood nearby, watching him closely but without speaking. "You're early," said a voice over his communicator. It was Arden. "Good. That shows initiative. Step inside. Your mission begins now." Evan's hands trembled slightly as he approached the spacecraft. He was about to leave the city, the tower, and the safety of the familiar world behind. But he reminded himself of Arden's words: ingenuity, courage, and integrity. That was what mattered. The spacecraft's interior was quiet and efficient. Panels glowed softly with navigation controls, life support monitors, and communication arrays. Evan began running checks, ensuring that every system was operational. The engines hummed, the artificial gravity held steady, and the AI assistant on board greeted him politely. "You have a long journey ahead," the AI said in a calm, mechanical voice. "Novacorp directives indicate your mission is top priority. Please confirm readiness." "Novacorp." Evan checked his tools one last time. "Ready," he said. The spacecraft lifted off smoothly, leaving the city behind. Through the viewport, Evan watched the neon towers shrink into the distance. Replaced by the dark expanse of space, he felt a mixture of fear and excitement. The unknown stretched before him like a vast ocean, and he realized this was what Arden had meant by a real challenge. After several hours of travel, Evan reached his destination, an uncharted planet in a distant system. The surface was harsh and barren, with jagged rocks, swirling dust storms, and a thin, unstable atmosphere. Novacorp's AI systems had detected potential energy sources beneath the planet's surface, but previous probes had failed to navigate the unstable terrain. That was why Arden had sent a human, because only a human could adapt in ways the AI could not predict. Evan's task was clear: oversee the deployment of a new AI mining system that could extract resources safely from the planet. But the system was untested, the terrain unpredictable, and the mission dangerous. One wrong calculation, and the AI could malfunction or worse, put lives at risk. Evan set to work immediately. He studied the planet's data, mapped safe zones, and coordinated with the AI system remotely. Slowly, he learned the patterns of the dust storms, the stability of the rock formations, and the weaknesses in the mining array. Every decision required careful thought, but he found himself enjoying the challenge. Unlike at the office, here he could see the results of his work directly. Hours passed, and Evan faced his first real test. A sudden dust storm blew across the mining site, threatening to destabilize the AI machinery. Sensors warned of structural failure. Evan acted quickly, rerouting power to critical systems and manually overriding AI protocols. The machinery shuddered, but held steady. "You anticipated correctly," the AI said, almost approvingly. "Human intervention, optimal." Evan smiled faintly. That small acknowledgement, from a machine that had never understood intuition, filled him with satisfaction. He realized that Arden had chosen him for a reason. This mission was not just about engineering. It was about proving that human judgment, adaptability, and creativity were still invaluable. As night fell on the barren planet, Evan set up a temporary command station. The planet's 2 moons cast pale light across the rocky surface, and the wind howled like a living creature. He monitored the AI systems, adjusted protocols, and recorded data for Novacorp's review. Every task was a test, every decision a reflection of human ingenuity in a world increasingly dominated by machines. Suddenly, an unexpected alert appeared on his terminal. A neighboring AI probe had detected unusual readings deep beneath the surface. Energy fluctuations, unstable minerals, and faint seismic activity suggested that the planet held more than simple resources. Evan's mind raced. This was not part of the mission parameters. Yet the discovery could change everything for NovaCorp. He weighed his options carefully. He could follow standard protocol and ignore the anomaly, reporting only what had been requested. Or he could take the risk, investigate further, and potentially uncover something extraordinary. Evan's instincts told him the right choice. Explore the anomaly. He suited up, activated his environmental shield, and ventured toward the readings. The ground was rough, and the wind buffeted him from all directions. But Evan relied on his intuition, observing subtle changes in the terrain, anticipating the dangers, and moving with caution. After hours of careful navigation, he reached the source of the energy fluctuations. Beneath a jagged outcrop, he found a hidden cavern filled with crystalline structures that pulsed faintly with energy. The AI sensors confirmed that the formations contained elements previously unknown to NovaCorp, rare, highly valuable, and potentially revolutionary. Evan felt a rush of excitement. He had discovered something no machine, no protocol, and no ordinary human could have found. He realized that Arden's test had prepared him for this moment, teaching him to think beyond instructions, trust his instincts, and adapt in the face of uncertainty. He transmitted the data back to NovaCorp's headquarters, careful to include detailed analysis, risk assessment, and potential applications. As the AI system confirmed receipt, Evan leaned against the cavern wall, feeling exhausted but triumphant. He had succeeded not just in completing the mission, but in demonstrating that human intuition, creativity, and courage were indispensable. Hours later, back at the temporary command station, Evan received a message from Arden. "Well done, Evan. You have shown that human judgment remains critical. Prepare for extraction. Your next challenge awaits." Evan exhaled deeply, the tension in his body melting slightly. He realized that this was only the beginning. Arden's tests would continue, pushing him further, challenging him in ways he could not yet imagine. But for the first time, he felt confident. He understood the lesson Arden was teaching. Humans were not replaceable by machines. Our ingenuity, adaptability, and courage set us apart. And in the vast, unpredictable universe, those qualities mattered more than anything else. As the spacecraft lifted off from the planet, Evan looked out at the barren landscape, the glowing crystals fading into the distance. He felt a sense of pride and purpose he had never known before. He was no longer just a junior engineer. He was a human being whose skills, intuition, and determination could shape the future of exploration, innovation, and discovery. And as the stars stretched before him, vast and endless, Evan knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready. He would continue to prove that humans still mattered in a world of machines, corporations, and cosmic uncertainty. Tomorrow, he would face the next test, and he would meet it head-on, as only a human could. Evan woke early, long before the city's neon lights had dimmed. His apartment was quiet, almost eerily so, except for the low hum of the cooling units. Sleep had come in short bursts, interrupted by thoughts of the observation deck and Arden's words. "Tomorrow, the real challenge begins," she had said. Evan didn't know what to expect, but he knew it would be more than a simple office assignment. He dressed quickly, choosing practical clothes and a sturdy pair of boots. Today, he wasn't just a junior engineer. He was stepping into an unknown world. As he left his apartment, the city buzzed with its usual energy. Hovercars whizzed past, drones drifted lazily overhead, and massive holographic advertisements painted the sky with flashes of color. Yet Evan barely noticed any of it. His mind was on the encrypted message that had appeared on his holo screen early that morning. "Report to the secure launch bay. 8 a.m. Bring only your essential tools." Evan's stomach tightened. Secure launch bay. Essential tools. That sounded serious. Very serious. He grabbed his portable engineering kit, checked the supplies in his backpack, and took a deep breath. It was time to leave the familiar world behind. The launch bay was located beneath NovaCorp's tower, in a section few employees ever saw. The air smelled faintly of oil and metal, and soft lights illuminated the sleek, polished floors. Hovering platforms carried crates and equipment silently, while automated drones hummed as they moved in precise patterns. In the center of the bay stood a spacecraft unlike any Evan had ever seen. Its hull gleamed with a metallic sheen, smooth and aerodynamic, as though it had been carved from a single piece of metal. "You're early," said a calm voice through his communicator. It was Arden. "Good. That shows initiative. Step inside. Your mission begins now." Evan's hands trembled slightly as he approached. The spacecraft's doors opened automatically, revealing a perfectly organized interior. Control panels glowed softly, life support monitors pulsed quietly, and the hum of the engines created a steady vibration under his feet. A small AI assistant floated in a corner, its holographic form blinking with a friendly, mechanical expression. "You have a long journey ahead," it said. "Mission parameters are critical. Confirm readiness." Evan checked his kit one last time. Tools, data pads, emergency supplies, all accounted for. "Ready," he said. The spacecraft lifted smoothly, gliding upward through the city and into the pale light of dawn. Evan pressed his hands against the control panel, watching as the towers of the city shrank below him. For the first time, the world he knew, the office, the crowded streets, the neon advertisements, was left behind. Ahead lay darkness, space, and the unknown. Hours passed in quiet focus. Evan monitored the spacecraft's systems, recalibrated the navigation AI, and reviewed the mission briefings stored in his holopad. His task: oversee the deployment of NovaCorp's newest interstellar AI system on an uncharted planet. The AI was designed to extract rare minerals efficiently, but the planet's surface was unstable, the terrain unpredictable. Previous unmanned missions had failed, unable to adapt to sudden shifts in weather, rock formations, or seismic activity. Evan realized why Arden had chosen him. Machines could follow instructions perfectly, but they could not improvise in the face of uncertainty. That was where a human's intuition and adaptability became invaluable. Finally, the spacecraft approached the target planet. From above, it looked harsh and unwelcoming. Jagged rock formations stretched across the surface, and swirling dust storms moved unpredictably across the plains. The thin atmosphere shimmered under the planet's two suns. A perfect test, Evan thought. Challenging enough to push both him and the AI system to their limits. The landing was rough but controlled. The spacecraft's thrusters kicked up dust, and Evan had to hold onto a handrail to steady himself as the ground shook. Once the engines powered down, he opened the hatch and stepped outside. The air was thin, but the suit's life support system regulated oxygen perfectly. Evan looked around at the barren landscape. No vegetation, no signs of life, only jagged rocks, shifting sands, and a sky tinged with pale orange light. Evan set up a temporary command station near the spacecraft. He ran diagnostics on the AI system and began mapping safe zones for mining operations. The sensors picked up every detail: the density of the rocks, subtle seismic vibrations, and the intensity of the dust storms. Everything had to be precise. One misstep could damage the equipment, or worse, destroy the mission. Hours passed, and Evan faced his first real challenge. A sudden dust storm moved across the plains, stronger and faster than the sensors had predicted. The AI system sent warning alerts. Machinery at risk, pathways blocked, unstable ground ahead. Evan acted quickly. He rerouted power to critical components, manually adjusted the AI's navigation algorithms, and predicted the storm's path based on subtle changes in wind patterns and rock movements. The machinery groaned under the strain, but Evan's adjustments worked. The AI systems adapted, holding steady despite the storm. "You anticipated correctly," the AI said. Its calm voice sounded almost approving. Human intervention optimal. Evan allowed himself a brief smile. That small acknowledgement, coming from a machine that had never understood instinct or judgment, gave him satisfaction. He realized that Arden had chosen him for this reason: to show that human intuition was still essential in a world dominated by AI. As night fell on the barren planet, Evan set up additional monitoring equipment. The wind howled around him, and shadows from the jagged rocks danced in the artificial light of his portable lamps. Then, his sensors detected something unusual. Energy readings far beneath the surface suggested a hidden formation, a concentration of minerals unlike anything in the NovaCorp database. This was not part of the mission parameters. Evan considered ignoring it, following only the direct orders from NovaCorp. But something inside him told him otherwise. Arden's tests had shown him that human ingenuity mattered most when following rules was not enough. He decided to investigate. Suit secured, he descended toward the anomaly, moving cautiously over unstable terrain. Hours passed, and the planet's harsh conditions pushed him to his limits. The wind buffeted him. The rocks shifted unpredictably, and the ground threatened to collapse under his feet. Yet Evan relied on his instincts, reading subtle signs in the environment, predicting hazards, and adjusting his path. Finally, he reached the source. Hidden beneath a jagged outcrop was a cavern filled with crystalline formations that pulsed faintly with energy. The AI sensors confirmed that the structures contained rare, previously unknown minerals, highly valuable for advanced NovaCorp technologies. Evan's heart raced. He had discovered something no probe, no AI, and no ordinary human could have found. This was proof that human intuition, creativity, and courage were still essential. He carefully collected samples, documented the cavern, and transmitted the data to NovaCorp headquarters with detailed analysis. Exhausted but triumphant, Evan returned to the temporary command station. The AI system confirmed receipt of the data and began recalibrating for the next stage of operations. Evan leaned back, letting the weight of the day settle over him. He realized that Arden's mission was not just a test of skill, it was a test of character. Hours later, a message appeared on his communicator. It was Arden. "Well done, Evan. You have shown that human judgment remains critical. Prepare for extraction. Your next challenge awaits." Evan exhaled slowly. He understood now that Arden's tests were far from over. They would continue, pushing him further, demanding creativity, courage, and intelligence. But for the first time, he felt confident. He had proven that humans still had value in a world of machines, corporations, and unpredictable challenges. As the spacecraft lifted off, Evan looked down at the barren planet, the glowing crystals fading beneath him. He felt a surge of pride, knowing that he had succeeded where AI alone could not. He was no longer just a junior engineer. He was a human whose skills, instincts, and ingenuity could shape the future of exploration, innovation, and discovery. And as the stars stretched endlessly before him, Evan knew that whatever lay ahead, he was ready. He would face the next challenge with courage, intelligence, and determination. Arden's test had shown him one thing clearly. In a universe full of machines and rules, humans still mattered. Evan returned to NovaCorp headquarters with the data from the uncharted planet still fresh in his mind. The spacecraft's engines powered down smoothly in the launch bay, and the AI assistant offered a polite, mechanical greeting. "You have completed your mission successfully," it said. "Human intervention has exceeded expectations." Evan nodded, exhausted but proud. He had not only managed the AI deployment under harsh conditions, but had also discovered rare minerals that no automated probe could detect. For the first time, he felt a surge of confidence in his own abilities. But there was no time to rest. A new message appeared on his holo screen. This one direct and unmistakable. "Meet me in the executive chamber, 8 p.m., alone. Arden." Evan's pulse quickened. The executive chamber was one of the highest security rooms in the tower. It overlooked the city from a glass wall that stretched from floor to ceiling. Only top-level executives had access. Arden had chosen him for a meeting that could change everything again. He spent the day quietly at work, completing routine tasks while mentally preparing for the confrontation. Each keystroke, Each minor adjustment on the office systems felt insignificant compared to what awaited him. By the time the city lights began to flicker on, Evan was ready. The elevator ride to the executive chamber was long, each floor passing with a mechanical hum. Evan's thoughts raced. What would Arden want this time? Praise? Another test? Or something more unexpected? He reminded himself of the lessons learned so far. Stay calm, trust his instincts, and approach every challenge logically. When the elevator doors opened, the chamber was empty at first glance. The glass wall gave a breathtaking view of the city below, glowing with thousands of lights. Evan stepped forward, trying to appear confident. That's when he saw Arden, standing near the center of the room, their hands clasped behind their back, eyes fixed on him. Evan, Arden said calmly, their voice echoing slightly in the high-ceilinged room. You've done well. Far better than most I have observed. Thank you, Evan replied, trying to steady his voice. I did what I could. Arden stepped closer, their gaze sharp, assessing. Do you understand why I selected you for these missions? Yes, Evan said cautiously. You wanted to see if a human could handle situations where AI alone might fail. Arden nodded. Correct. You demonstrated creativity, judgment, and courage. But this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and the challenges are greater than a single planet or a single mission. I need humans who can think, adapt, and act when nothing is certain. Evan listened intently. Arden was testing more than his skills. They were testing his character, his resolve, and his understanding of what it meant to be human in a universe dominated by machines. You have a choice, Arden continued, their voice calm but intense. You can continue to follow instructions blindly, or you can rise to meet the challenges ahead. Most people choose safety. Most people fail. Evan felt a mix of fear and determination. He knew that saying yes was not a simple decision. It would mean stepping into a world of uncertainty, of high expectations, and constant observation. But deep inside, he realized he was ready. I want to continue, he said firmly. I want to face the challenges, whatever they may be. Arden's expression softened slightly, almost approvingly. Good. That is the answer I hope to hear. But there is more to understand. Strength, courage, and ingenuity are only part of what you need. Integrity, empathy, and foresight are equally important. Tomorrow, your next mission will test all of these qualities. Evan's mind raced. Arden was not just offering him a job or a task, they were offering him a role in shaping the future. But with that opportunity came immense responsibility. He would have to think beyond rules, beyond protocol, and beyond conventional thinking. Arden gestured to a large holo screen at the far end of the chamber. It activated with a soft hum, displaying a holographic map of a distant star system. Planets, moons, and asteroid belts spun slowly in three-dimensional space. Your next assignment involves a complex situation, Arden said. An outpost in this system has reported anomalous activity. AI systems there have failed to respond effectively. Your task is to investigate, assess, and restore operations. You will face uncertainty, environmental hazards, and unpredictable elements. Are you prepared for that? Fact 4. Evan studied the map, noting the distances, orbital patterns, and the position of the outpost. The situation looked complicated, potentially dangerous. Yet he felt a surge of confidence. Yes, he said, I'll do it. Arden stepped closer, their eyes locking onto his. Remember this, Evan. Humans are capable of things machines cannot anticipate. Trust your instincts, question assumptions, and lead when necessary. Your success depends on your judgment as much as your skill. Evan nodded. He understood the message. Arden was not testing him with direct commands or instructions. They were testing his ability to make decisions, to weigh risks, and to act decisively when the outcome was uncertain. This was the essence of human capability, something no AI could replicate. The meeting ended, and Evan left the chamber with a mix of exhilaration and tension. The city lights outside the glass wall twinkled like stars, and he felt a strange connection between himself and the vast universe. Arden's tests were demanding, yes, but they were also a recognition of his potential. For the first time, Evan felt truly capable. That evening, he reviewed the mission briefing. The outpost in the distant star system had reported failures in AI-controlled systems, managing energy distribution, environmental control, and resource extraction. Attempts to remotely fix the issues had failed. Nova Corp required a human presence to restore functionality, make judgments, and ensure stability. Evan realized the stakes were high. Failure could cost billions in resources and damage Nova Corp's reputation. But success could demonstrate the unique value of human intuition in situations where machines struggled. He checked his equipment, verified navigation data, and prepared for the journey. As he slept briefly before departure, Evan's mind wandered to Arden. The CEO's enigmatic nature, their subtle but exacting tests, and the high expectations they set were challenging. But Evan recognized the lesson in every encounter. Humans were not replaceable by machines. Our ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to act with integrity was irreplaceable. The next morning, the spacecraft lifted off from the launch bay once more. Evan guided it smoothly through the city and into space, leaving the familiar neon skyline behind. The vastness of the stars stretched before him, reminding him of both the opportunities and the dangers ahead. Hours into the journey, Evan reviewed his plans again. He ran simulations, checked environmental data for the outpost, and anticipated potential hazards. Dust storms, mechanical failures, and environmental anomalies all were possibilities. Yet, Evan felt ready. His experiences on the uncharted planet had taught him the importance of trust in his own judgment and the value of human intuition. As the spacecraft approached the distant star system, Evan could see the outpost in orbit around a rocky, barren planet. The sensors detected irregular energy emissions, malfunctioning systems, and signs of instability. It was exactly the kind of scenario Arden had prepared him for. Unpredictable, high stakes, and requiring human judgment to succeed. Evan's heart raced, but he felt a sense of purpose. He understood the challenge ahead. Machines could execute commands, but humans could improvise, adapt, and make choices no AI could foresee. That was his strength. That was why Arden had chosen him. As the spacecraft descended toward the outpost, Evan prepared to take control of the systems directly. The fate of the mission and the proof of human capability rested in his hands. Evan smiled faintly. He was ready. In that moment, he knew with certainty. Humans still mattered. And no test, no challenge, and no powerful CEO could change that fact. Evan's spacecraft hovered above the distant outpost, its thrusters steady as the sensors mapped the failing systems below. The outpost was a sprawling complex of metal structures and energy conduits, orbiting a rocky, barren planet. From space, it looked almost fragile, a delicate web of machinery in a hostile environment. The moment he docked, the AI system controlling the outpost sent a flurry of alerts. Environmental controls were failing. Energy distribution was unstable. Automated mining operations had shut down entirely. Every problem was a potential disaster. For a machine, each anomaly was a simple error. For a human, each anomaly was a test of judgment, foresight, and adaptability. Evan unstrapped from the spacecraft, his toolkit in hand, and stepped onto the metallic walkway connecting the shuttle to the outpost. The airlock hissed as it sealed behind him, and the faint scent of ozone and recycled air filled the corridor. Evan moved quickly, checking the systems as he went. Machines could calculate probabilities, but humans could anticipate the unpredictable. That was his advantage. The first challenge appeared almost immediately. A critical energy conduit had failed, cutting power to one of the main control centers. Sensors reported unstable levels of voltage surging through adjacent systems. Evan quickly assessed the situation. A simple automated repair protocol would have restarted the system blindly. risking catastrophic failure. Instead, he analyzed the readings, identified the sequence of failures, and rerouted power manually, stabilizing the conduit just in time. The AI system chimed in, its voice calm but impressed. Human intervention detected. Optimal resolution achieved. Evan allowed himself a small smile. This was exactly what Arden had prepared him for. A situation that required human judgment beyond the capacity of machines. As he moved through the outpost, Evan encountered more challenges. Environmental controls were fluctuating, threatening to overheat parts of the complex. Automated drones were colliding with debris in the low-gravity environment. Resource management systems were misallocating critical materials. Each problem required careful observation, quick decisions, and creative thinking. Evan worked tirelessly, relying on intuition as much as skill. He repaired the environmental systems by adjusting pressure valves in ways the AI had never considered. He guided the drones manually, creating new flight paths to avoid collisions. He recalibrated resource distribution, prioritizing the most critical operations first. Every success reinforced one truth: humans were capable of thinking beyond the limitations of machines. Hours passed, and the outpost began to stabilize. Systems hummed steadily. Power flowed efficiently. Drones moved with precision. Resource allocation was optimized. Evan leaned against a console, exhausted but satisfied. The outpost was no longer failing. It was thriving under his guidance. Then, the final challenge appeared. A sensor alert indicated an energy anomaly deep within the planet's surface. Strange readings suggested that an underground cavern contained an unknown energy source. Highly unstable yet potentially valuable. Automated systems had ignored it, unable to interpret the data correctly. But Evan understood the importance immediately. Ignoring it could mean missing a crucial discovery. Mishandling it could mean disaster. Evan suited up and prepared for a descent into the cavern. Gravity was weak, and the ground was uneven. But he relied on both equipment and instincts. He navigated narrow tunnels, carefully monitoring the energy readings. The walls glowed faintly with a strange luminescence, casting eerie shadows. Every step required judgment. Every decision carried weight. Finally, he reached the cavern chamber. Crystalline formations pulsed with energy, delicate yet powerful. Evan studied the patterns and calculated a method to stabilize the energy using temporary conduits and feedback loops. With careful adjustments, the energy was safely channeled into the outpost systems, providing an additional power source for operations. The AI confirmed the stabilization, its tone almost approving. Human judgment has optimized energy distribution. Anomaly resolved efficiently. Evan exhaled, a wave of relief and pride washing over him. He had done it. Alone, relying on his intelligence, intuition, and courage. He had solved problems that machines alone could not. He realized, once again, the truth Arden had been teaching him. Humans were invaluable in ways machines would never understand. Later, as he returned to the control center, his communicator buzzed. It was Arden. "Evan," Arden said, "I have been monitoring your progress. You have not only stabilized the outpost, but demonstrated the essential qualities I seek: ingenuity, adaptability, and judgment under pressure. You have proven that humans remain vital to the future of interstellar operations." Evan felt a surge of pride. For weeks, he had been tested, observed, and challenged in ways he had never imagined. Yet, despite fear, uncertainty, and the weight of responsibility, he had succeeded. Arden's tests had not been simple, they had been designed to push him to his limits. And he had passed. "Thank you," Evan said, his voice steady. I won't let you down." "You already have," Arden replied, their tone carrying rare warmth. "But your work is not finished. The galaxy is vast, filled with challenges that cannot be solved by machines alone. And humans like you will lead the way. Remember this. No matter how advanced the AI, no matter how complex the systems, human ingenuity will always be indispensable. Evan leaned back in his chair, letting the words sink in. For the first time, he felt fully confident in his place in the universe. Humans were still capable of extraordinary things. Intuition, problem-solving, and creativity were qualities no machine could replicate. The next day, he prepared for departure from the outpost. As the spacecraft lifted off, Evan gazed down at the planet. The glowing cavern now safely stabilized. The outpost operating flawlessly. He felt a sense of accomplishment unlike any he had experienced before. He had been tested, challenged, and pushed to the brink, and he had triumphed. Returning to NovaCorp headquarters, Evan was greeted not with fanfare, but with acknowledgement from the systems and people around him. He had proven himself in ways no one could ignore. Arden met him personally in the executive chamber, their expression a mixture of pride and approval. "You have shown what humans are capable of," Arden said. "The galaxy is vast, and challenges will continue. But now, I know that the future rests in capable hands. Yours, Evan, and others like you. You have reminded me why humans are essential." Evan nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. This was more than a job or a mission. It was a confirmation that human intelligence, creativity, and courage were still critical in a universe dominated by technology and machines. He realized that being human was not a weakness, it was a strength that no AI, no corporation, and no challenge could ever fully replace. As he stood looking out from the glass walls of the executive chamber, the city sprawling below him, Evan felt a deep connection to the universe. Every light, every movement, every star beyond the skyline was a reminder of the potential of humans to shape their own destiny. Arden had given him the tests, but he had proven the lesson himself. Humans could adapt, innovate, and overcome. Evan smiled. He knew that there would always be new challenges, new tests, and new uncertainties. But he also knew that he, and humans like him, had the tools to meet them. Intelligence, courage, adaptability, and judgment. These were the qualities that no AI could replicate and no obstacle could diminish. For the first time, Evan felt truly ready for the future. The galaxy stretched before him, full of possibility, danger, and discovery. And humans, he realized, were still the most powerful force in it. Not because of machines, not because of corporations, but because of their creativity, courage, and indomitable spirit. Evan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. He had been tested, observed, and challenged. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and chaos, and he had triumphed. He was human. He was capable. And in a universe of endless complexity, that was enough. As the sun rose over the city, Evan looked forward to the next challenge with determination and confidence. The galaxy awaited, and he was ready. Humanity had won not through power, wealth, or technology alone, but through intelligence, courage, and ingenuity. And Evan would continue to prove that humans, even small individuals like him, were vital to the future of the universe. The galaxy was vast, but Evan knew one thing for certain. Humans would always rise to meet its challenges, and he would be at the forefront.